Yeah, so I just wanted to take a second while I have a second and talk about a few things. One of the main things that I wanted to talk about is the comedy show that I went to last night. I was invited to last night, and it was awesome. Like, I haven't been to a show that good or even seen a show hosted that well in a long, long time. I believe it's like since the King of Comedy, there hasn't been a show like the one we saw last night. Um, and I really, really feel like the guys that are on that tour, it seems like one of them things that like made sense for everybody, came together organically, worked really well. Like, they found the pieces for their place in the circuit is like the best of all worlds. Like, it was a heavy hitter tour. They had the right attraction because all of those people bring a great following. They had the right run of show. The chemistry between the guys were good. It was all guys on that show, and I'm an inspiring comic at heart, and I'm a real big like comedy cinema buff. So I'm really into that kind of stuff, and um it's hard to please me because I watch so much of that content. It's kind of like, such and such did that, and they delivered it better. Um, or he might want to take that one back, and it wasn't none of that last night. It was actually some. Well, before I get into the details of the show, the name of the show was, I'm pretty sure everybody heard about the Straight Jokes No Chaser. Um, so that is the show that we went and saw last night, and it was worth the time, the effort to get there and get dressed, and um, we made sure we were seated on time because you don't want to be the one walking in the show late. And we hardly make anything on time, but we made it a point to make it there, and it was great. Um, but yeah, it was Straight Jokes No Chasers. So the lineup is, uh, of course, they have the opener, then they have the host come out, then the lineup for last night. And I don't know, sometimes they kind of mix it up each night to give it something fresh or whatever it was. They need to keep that lineup because it was kind of like, and that's why I think that that's their original order, because it was kind of like eating an edible. Like, the experience was like eating an edible because it's like, okay, you come in anticipating it, just like you take the edible anticipating, to go through the experience. So you come in, you like, I know it's gonna be good because I've seen it before, but but I never really knew what it does. So you come in and you sit down, and then they have, the opener. From open to close, it was them guys was out there to work. So opener was great. Um, and the only reason I'm not naming everybody is because anybody that goes to the show, I want them to enjoy it organically. And if you do go, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because there's a certain finesse and elegance. I could tell the time was taken to actually thoughtfully walk through the show. And I really appreciated it as a viewer. What else can I say? Okay, so yeah, the opener was really good. He was really good. He's known, but he's not like majorly known. He's good. And then the host, of course, the host was funny. Um, and then the order that they put the actual comics in, I think it was kind of like it was perfect because it seemed like even in planning that and discussing that, everybody knew their attributes. I'm not gonna say place. Everybody knew where their attributes would fit in correlation with what they were doing. And I'm a fan of organization as well, so I think it was dope that they were able to coordinate it like that. Like, yeah, I'll come in right here because I know I'm gonna give them this. So it was kind of like a levels of. It was really like a display of its levels to this comedy stuff. And whoever garnered, like, it was really respectful because whoever garnered, um, it's kind of like your name hold weight pretty much. So it's like we know he's the closer. We know that he's before him. We know that he's first, but that doesn't diminish him. Um, we know who's up next. Could have been anywhere. So it was just like it was great. It was great. So as far as the comics themselves, I mean, it's broadcasted who's on the tour. That's how they attract. That's how ticket sales come in. So DC, he did great last night. He did great because his growth as a comic, or like, um, when I started watching 85 South, I went more into everybody's backgrounds just to get an understanding because I heard about Carlos, but I didn't know about Carlos. I heard about Chico from like Wilding Out and doing the podcast, and then I heard about DC. I just heard about DC around, um, and he was kind of in the class of like, if I'm not mistaken, like Desi Banks and all of those guys, Haha Davis, Ryan Davis, I think that's his name. Ryan is extremely funny, and all those guys came out um, like that. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. It was something going on, and it's a very small child. I thought something was going on. So, yeah, so that was like the best I've seen DC. And it wasn't like oh, that was good for DC. That was, he get it. Because we seen him go from, like, in my opinion, we've seen him go from like the guy that roasts in the classroom to the guy on stage finding his way to the guy that's getting those opportunities because he's putting in the work, and even though he might not have it all, he's stepping up to the learning curve very quickly, and he's always had that that country boy, it ain't all what you think you know about me kind of element to him. So that's always played to his advantage. But last night it was a grown man performance, and it's only gonna get better. It's kind of like you seen him, and that boy was shining too. He had it on. He had them things in his ear. You could tell he had his necklace, had his bracelet. Everything was hitting in the lights. He wasn't dressed like, oh, all stuffy, but he was presentable. And to me, anybody that understand that kind of element, that's kind of like a salute to his true self, himself. That was probably that guy in class. They probably was like, when he a prankster, he a jokester, whatever. I don't know his full background, but from what I'm gathering of how he expresses his story, it was kind of like a nod to I'm gonna just be myself. Now I'm gonna look good, and it's gonna shock people because of where I'm come from or how I usually act that I can put it on like this. So that's kind of like the style. He was real sleek and stylish. He kept it simple, and his jewelry was accent. So I thought that was dope. Just his whole presentation. He brought some new stuff out. It wasn't a recycled show, and it was more of a coming of age and a setting a new bar or plateau for himself and others. Um, Earthquake. Earthquake is just as good as I hoped he would be, for sure. He didn't disappoint. He was extremely true to self as well. I didn't know he was a bit raunchy, but he's very tell it like it is, comedy style, and I that's more getting into like the yeah, they all suit each other. It's like Bernie said, all of them, like, they're telling stories and they're telling them in a way that anybody could relate. Um, Whether it's theirs or somebody else's or added to or whatever. Um, that understanding of how to play with that is, in my opinion, what makes a comic a comic. Um, and yeah, like Earthquake, he put on a show. You can tell that he has had a lot of time working the stage, giving a show, keeping his mind straight when he didn't always garner the respect that he deserves. You know, because he's been funny a long time. He's been funny since he got here. I've never known Earthquake to bomb. I've never known him to have a trash set. My mom is a big fan of Earthquake. She put me onto him years ago when they were doing like the Latham comedy tours and all the Chitlin circuit, like putting in that work. And it was funny, and they didn't care where they was at. They was gonna give people a show for the ticket that they paid. So he's been funny a long time. I was not disappointed. Um, hmm. Then DL. I'm gonna be honest on this part because I've always been on the fence about DL. Honestly, when DL was on the Kings of Comedy, I feel like he got an opportunity because he was going to be, it was kind of like a play for his agent, like, or I don't know who his representation was at the time, but it seemed as if that was more so of an industry decision kind of thing, or hey, I was able to get you a spot on kind of thing because he had garnered enough, put in enough work and garnered the respect of the networks to get the D.L. Hughley show. So I think that was more so of a power play than it was an actual statement to the comedy world at that time, because I do get though, like I feel like Chappelle at that time could have taken in, he could have switched in for DL at the time, but that's also not because that's not his crowd. That until the Dave Chappelle show, I don't really believe that. Like Dave Chappelle was on Letterman young. He worked New York comedy scene and he was young. So I get it. I get the logistics of it. He was perfect for it as far as who was available. But I don't know if in his space in his career, because he did their comedy jam too. Don't get me wrong, he's no slouch at all. He put in work. But I think the element changed relatively quickly, and he was kind of like stepping up to the learning curve at that time. I feel like DC has stepped up to the learning curve up until, getting to this point, and he came and he was ready. I feel like at the time of Kings of Comedy, D.L. Hughley was stepping up to the learning curve, and you can only respect somebody for the effort they put forward. So again, that's nothing to take away from him. I just wasn't, the biggest fan of that segment of the Kings of Comedy. So ever since then, I've always had this kind of like, DL's okay. And then as he got older and got polished, he became funnier to me. But then he started going into political comedy. So that was like a reinvention of himself. So for me, again, I can kind of hear like the baby steps of, you know, the zingers and trying to slide those in and work that into. He was smart though, so he was trying to work that material into the raunchy Def Jam. Black people be like kind of set that sets that people were coming out of. So he transitioned gracefully as well. But I was able to. He transitioned gracefully because he was able to do it. But I was able to tell when he was transitioning because it was rough for a period, as it would be for anybody. So, I say all that to basically say I didn't know what to expect from DL. I was kind of still holding on to that hesitation. And he broke that down for me. Uh, just by being there. He kind of broke down the wall of, I don't really know. I would say that DL put on a good show. If somebody asked, I would say he did a good show. And there was a mix of personal, family, political, and you could tell that he found out how to deliver that set to where it's not awkward and it's not two different sets. They finally fused together. So I could say he could work that for a while, and then do other like hosting gigs or whatever on the side. But he could work that set for a while. And then said I wasn't really worried about Cedric, because it's never just him being him on stage was enough for me. My mom loves it, and you know they told us don't take no videos, but I definitely got my mama a picture because I probably would have got hit in the head if I did. Cedric is always so he's so poised, he's comfortable. I even got comfortable in that part of the video, but he's always so poised and he's comfortable in the sense that he knows what he's doing and he's known what he's doing for a while. So you can tell with him, it's just coming off the handle. I don't even know if he got a particular like set or show structure to put in order. Like I don't know if he actually needed anything. He probably had like points or something because it was so comfortable. And I could be wrong. I'm just guessing from the way it was coming out. He could be either well rehearsed or it seems as if at this point it's just he's saying whatever is on the top of his head because it's all on the top of his head. It's like riding a bike at this point. So I think it's really nice to see him progress to that point of I can pretty much say anything. It's hitting. And then you can tell that there's a certain amount of fun that you can have with the crowd once you know your stuff, and that's any work. They tell you that in school. Once you know your work, once you know your script, you can change it up. You can improv because you know the basis of what you're working from. But you have to know what it is. You have to be knowledgeable of the thing that you wish to deviate from before deviation. Um, so I can't veer off from the plans that we have if I don't even have a good understanding of what the plans are in the first place. Because you have to know the objective. In order to take other means to meet that objective, you have to thoroughly understand what it is you're actually trying to accomplish. So he has a great understanding of that, and I feel it allows him a lot of flexibility as a comic. I would love to get to that point in everything that I do, especially comedy. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to get on here for a second and just kind of give my thoughts on that because I thought it was really, really dope. I I'm satisfied. I would actually go again. I thought about going again on my birthday in Philadelphia. They come on May 19th in Philly, but I think either DC or Earthquake is not going to be there. Some days that they're not there. So I decided not to go because it makes no sense to go and see a show that I've already seen with one if it's not going to be um, the full lineup and how it was. So that was my personal hijinks. But honestly, it wouldn't hurt. Like I said, everybody is heavy hitters. I just wouldn't travel for that. But if you're in the Philadelphia area, please check it out. Please, please, please do not go on the internet. Do not look at these little nigga rigged because you know sometimes I don't know if it's on there, but sometimes people will grab. Don't go on the internet. Go see it in person and get close if you can. Because you want to see that up close and personal. You want to feel that energy in that building. I'm telling you, it's a thing. And if you're shout out to Spectrum Center because they were the hosting venue for that event, and they had it set up right. They had the lounge set up. They had if you were on the first level up close, you could go back. You didn't have to go up to the top. You go straight back up under the where like the tunnels are, and they had it set up there as well for your food and beverage needs as well. So you don't walk up to the top; you can stay on that level. So there's a lot um, that you want to actually get from seeing them in person. So please, please, please go buy your tickets. I'm not getting paid for no promotion. Nobody asked me to do anything. It was just that good of a show. So until next time, guys, I appreciate you for listening and I love you and see you later. Bye.